Hola, hola, and welcome to Cultura Cash. This is Gigi, your host, reporting live from Mexicali, Baja California. I am here visiting family and friends. I've been here since Thursday, and I fly back to Chicago next Thursday. So it's been a whirlwind of a trip, but I'm glad to be here and be spending quality time with my loved ones. Let's jump right into this episode. This episode is for my aspiring authors or current authors or anybody who is curious about a peek behind the curtain of authorhood. Today's topic is 6 mistakes I've seen other authors make during their book launch and how you can avoid them. And you might find that even if you don't plan to write a book, but if you are an entrepreneur with a product-based business, you might be able to get some key takeaways that you can apply to future product launches. At least I hope so. So a little context, book publishing typically falls into 3 phases. 4 if you do traditional publishing where you have to get a book proposal and shop it around. But I did hybrid publishing where I didn't have to shop it around. I paid to play, right? So I funded the project. So for me, the 3 steps were writing the manuscript. That takes months. Then the second phase is editing it and working with the publisher on the cover, the formatting of the book, all these fun things. And then the last phase is launching. People mistakenly think that the hardest part of publishing a book is writing it. Personally, for me, it was because I'm not a naturally good writer. I'm a naturally good talker, which is why I can talk on this podcast nonstop. But when it comes to pen to paper, it's a little harder for me. It doesn't come as naturally as speaking does. But for most people that decide to become authors, they want to become authors because they like to write. So the writing is the easiest part. But they think it's going to be the hardest part. But the hardest part is actually launching. Launching, I would say, takes more effort. And launching is just getting the word out, right? Like you wrote the book, you edited it, it's ready to be out to the public. And now you have to sell it, promote it, get the word out, amplify it, right? And I really enjoyed my launching process. I've gotten so many compliments from other authors, other peer authors that have given me, even authors that I respect and look up to, have DM'd me and said, "Hey, girl, I've kept an eye on your launch, and you've been killing it." And I really, really take a lot of pride in that, especially because I did a lot of research into what would go into successfully launching a book. So the fact that I got good results and that other people noticed really, really makes me feel good. So let's jump right into mistake 1 out of 6. Mistake 1 that I see a lot of authors make is not creating a launch strategy. They think that the book is going to sell on its own because they think, oh, I already did the hard part. The hard part was writing this book. The hard part was getting a book deal. Like, people know that I put a lot of work into it. So of course this book is going to sell off the shelves. No, that's not how it works. And I actually learned that over and over and over again from podcasts about authorhood and book launching, that was a very common mistake. And again, every podcast would mention this. So I'm like, okay, this is real. And I can attest to it. I had something similar when I launched my first product, which was my investing course. It's still out, by the way. You can check it out, Investing for First Gen Wealth Builders. It's a great product. Just like my book, it's a great product too. I dedicated a lot of time, work, and energy into it. But I thought that because my audience was asking me for this course, and because I had put so much time and effort, that it was going to sell on its own. And I learned, even though the launch of that course was successful in the sense that I made my money back and then some, and the course is still selling. I'm still enrolling students. You can check that out at Cultura, or not culturacash.com, thefirstgenmentor.com. And you'll be seeing more about that as I relaunch that course later this year. But it's a great product. But I learned that just creating it is not enough. You also have to have a strategy on how you're going to communicate what readers or students get from enrolling in the course or reading your book, right? What takeaways they're going to get, why it's worth their time to spend $20 to buy it and spend hours of their time to read it, right? So I took a lot of time into crafting a launching strategy. I took 3 months. Well, actually, I crafted it 3 months before. Rather, let's say 3 months before publishing my book. And honestly, looking back, I wish I would have done it 4 months before, because we were kind of stressing at the end. It was like all hands on deck. I think if I would have given myself another month, I think things would have flown a lot smoother. So again, do your research. Podcasts are very helpful for me. Observing what other authors do, and not straight up copying what they do, but maybe finding your own twist to the ways that they do things. I also met with a consultant on launching a book, and she was fantastic, and she gave me ideas that I hadn't even thought of, and she was able to identify some blind spots. So that was really, really helpful. Part of creating a strategy is, how will I communicate to the world that this book is out, besides, hey, it's out, go buy it, right? So who is going to be your launch team that's going to be supporting you behind the scenes? What sort of assets and copy will you be sharing with other content creators so they can easily get the word out? What is your PR strategy? Are you trying to get on Good Morning America? Are you just trying to focus on your niche community? What's your digital media strategy? How often will you be posting on social media? Will you be collaborating with other content creators or other digital media? And all these things take time, right? Because you have to reach out to people in advance. They have their own agendas, their own calendars. So you need to make sure to kind of put this in front of them sooner than later, so that you can be aligned on the timing and when your book is going to be promoted. Mistake number 2, and this kind of piggybacks a little bit on mistake number 1 of not having a strategy, is having a weak promotion. So what I see a lot of authors is, I know how much time, money, and effort goes into writing a book, but then I see that they launch their book, they promote it for a couple days during launch week, and then crickets. You never hear of the book again. And I think it's so sad. As somebody who knows how much work goes into this, I'm like, girl, you worked way too hard for this, for you to not be yelling it from the rooftops, right? And the messaging can't always be buy, buy, buy. There has to be something else, right? So for example, for me, one of the videos I used to promote the book, was sharing the illustrations of what my publisher wanted to use versus the beautiful illustrations that my Latina digital illustrator came up with that I actually use for the books, right? So that's, again, just showing a little bit behind the scenes, still talking about the book, but not straight up saying buy the book, right? So just being creative in the way that you get that message out. I would say I promoted my book for a year. I would argue I am still promoting it. I am still doing book tour stops. I am still posting about it. It's still getting recognized. And as long as this train keeps going, I'm going to keep writing it. So I love that for me. And I also think that the reason that I've been as invested as I have compared to other authors is because I have a lot of skin in the game with this book. I self-funded this, right? Where maybe a lot of the authors that I've seen that kind of fizzle out after a couple weeks or a month and they stop promoting the book is because they got a book deal and they already got their advance. So they don't really get more money from royalties and they don't really see the value in it. Maybe they had a ghostwriter. There's nothing wrong with having a ghostwriter. Honestly, if I could have afforded a ghostwriter, I would have hired a ghostwriter, but I would have owned it that I hired a ghostwriter. I wrote my book myself. Every single word was written by me. So because I'm the one that put in the work, that's why it's very important for me to actually move forward and promote it because of how much work I actually put. Where somebody that paid a ghostwriter, they didn't sit on their ass for hours and hours and hours like I did on their laptop writing a book, right? So they're just not as invested. So I think that's one of the many reasons why I'm very passionate about still promoting the book and because I believe in it and I poured all my heart into it. So my advice here would be, again, have a strong launch strategy, but also rest before you launch, right? Because I think a lot of the reason a lot of authors fizzle out is because either they don't have any launch strategy or they burn out. And And burnout is real, right? That's why you have to have the support of a launch team to help you. It can't just be you. It takes a village. But I've seen authors launch their book and then a month later be like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted from the whole process. I'm taking a month off on vacation. And I'm like, what? You launched your book a month ago and you're taking a vacation now? Like, this is prime time when you need to be promoting it. So that's not how I would do things. Again, to each their own, but I've seen the difference in the success that other books have had when people throw in the towel too quickly. And again, it's just a little disappointing because I'm like, I know how hard this was for you. I know how much time you spent in this. And when it comes to actually getting it out to the world, you know, you have like a weak effort because you didn't take care of yourself beforehand or hire the right people to support you. So something that I did before I went on my launching process. So again, I started the strategy November. My book launched in January, and then I promoted it all day, every day from January to June. I did take a break in the summer, and then I got back to it in the fall. But what really helped me be able to get through the first half of the year, just nonstop book touring and podcasting and talking about the books, was that I took a vacation before November. So I went on a late honeymoon in in October. We went to Spain. This is in, what years? It was October of 2023. Yeah. So a few weeks before, I'm like, let me have this time where I just relax, unplug from the work I've been doing about the book, and just know that this is my time to rest because I'm going to hit the ground running come November when I have to start my launch strategy and putting all the pieces in motion. And then when the baby's actually out in January and having to still talk about it and do interviews and all these things, it's going to take all this time and effort, and you're not going to be able to just keep running and running if you don't give yourself a break. So I was always able to be like, oh, you had a break. You had your fabulous 2 weeks in Spain. I went to Sevilla. It was beautiful. And of course I did. I think the very first week, which is the heaviest launch week. If you do it right, your first week is the heaviest, and it should be. I did go to a spa that Sunday. My amazing friend Ashley gifted me a gift card. She knows me so well, and I spent the whole day at the spa, and I needed it. I just needed to relax and unplug. So that's a good way to kind of self-care along the way. But it's very important to not lose the momentum early. So plan a vacation in advance, plan self-care in advance, or along the way, and then get the support that you need. Don't think you can do it all alone because it's way too much work. Mistake number 3, and this is something that actually happened to me by another author, having your PR person reach out to promote your book when you actually have a personal connection with the person that you want to promote your book. So this happened to me a few years ago with an author. I'd already DM'd with this person a couple times through Instagram, so I found it very odd when I heard from this random marketing firm or a PR agency saying that they were representing them in their book launch. Like, hey, we don't know if you've heard of this person, but they're launching a book, and because your audience is aligned, we'd love to send you a free copy and, help you and would appreciate if you could help us promote the book. Helping promote the book is a favor. You're asking me for a favor, right? Which I'm happy to support other BIPOC authors, but I also expect that if I've had a personal connection with you before, even if it is through Instagram DM, I would expect an Instagram DM from you first instead of getting a cold email from somebody I don't know representing you. It's very much like, my team can take care of you. It just it rubbed me the wrong way, and I'm like, okay, this is weird. And what's funny, actually, I just remembered I did this because it was a very cold, very just business exchange. I said, yeah, I'd be happy to support. Since we're talking business, actually, I'm having a book of my own in a few months. So I would be happy to promote on the condition that this author will also be repaying the favor. I want that to be confirmed now. And I didn't hear back. When they followed up, they're like, hey, can we still send you the free book? So they didn't even consider my request. So I said, okay, they're not even paying attention to me. They're just trying to see what they can get out of it. And again, had I heard from the author, hey girl, I've been writing this book. It's coming out in a few months. Can you help me get the word out? Of course. Happy to. I'm an up and coming author myself. I know it's going to be a lot of work. Let's support each other, right? Because there's enough sunshine for us all. But that wasn't the case. I got an email from some random person and I didn't like that. So I made sure that when I launched my book, if I did have any prior connection to people, instead of having my assistant or my PR woman or my project manager reach out to them directly, it was always me first. Hey, my launch is coming up. Would appreciate your help. Oh yeah, what do you need, girl? You know what? I actually have this person handling this part of me. Let me do an email intro and then she can take it from there. Right? So doing that handoff instead of just hearing from a random person that you've never spoken to. So that would be my advice there. And mistake number 4 is not having any assets to promote. And for people that don't know assets are like, what you use to share content. So if you expect another content creator, influencer to make a video about your, oh my God, that's sorry. Hopefully you can't hear the dog barking. Her name's Luna. She's so bad. She's a puppy, so that's why she acts crazy. Anywho, so I lost my train of thought. Oh, if you're expecting other content creators to make a video promoting your product or your service or your book, it really is a big ask. As content creators, we have our own agenda, our own reasons for being online. Typically, I have no problem posting on stories because it's such an easy lift. But actually making a video, I get paid by corporations to make sponsored content like that promoting videos, right? So it's not something I would just do for anybody. I have done it in the past for authors that I really truly support, but typically it's just like a reshare on LinkedIn or an Instagram stories with a tag and a link to buy the book. But what makes it easier for people to support you is if you provide assets. So whether that's an Instagram image or a carousel post of an Instagram with a caption and hashtags, right? Or even a quick reel promoting the book that you can just upload to your account. The content creator supporting you can just upload to their account, right? That's an easy way to support you. And what I've seen is a lot of authors, again, it kind of all goes down to not having an effective launch strategy, is just, hey, can you help me? Yeah. What do you need from me? How can I help you? Like, what do you want specifically, right? Because there's different strategies. Oh, I don't know, whatever you want to help with. It's like, you should have a list of, these are ways you can support. You can write a review for a book. You can post a picture on your IG stories. We can do a book giveaway. We can do a podcast recording talking about the book's teachings. We can do an IG live talking about the book's teachings. Just different ways to get the word out, right? So that's an effective. So if you don't want to make that mistake, make sure to plan in advance before your book launches or your product launches to have a folder with copy, different types of assets that you can share with others to make it easy for them to help you. Let's see here. Mistake number 5 is not following up. So this one piggybacks on mistake number 4 of not providing, of asking for help and not providing assets. I've gotten a lot of requests from authors of, hey, can you help me with this? And I'm like, yes, I want to help. What can I do? And then I don't hear back. Or they did respond back, but I am bogged down with, my own life, my own business, my own obligations, and there's no follow-up of, hey, I know that you're busy, but I would love your support getting the word out for this book. And sometimes you need to do that, right? Because people have their own priorities. So for you to help them, make it easy by following up. There's nothing wrong with following up. Obviously, if you follow it up 3 or 4 times and there's no response, then you have your answer. But there's nothing wrong with following up a second or a third time. And even when it's your last time following up, with saying of like, hey, if right now isn't a good time for you, let me know. Maybe in 6 months is a better time for you, and I can get in touch with you then. Hope everything is well. Something like that would probably work. And lastly, mistake number 6 is setting up a book tour stop with a big brick and mortar retailer like Barnes and Noble or the Hudson Group. I actually had that happen with an author where they're like, oh, I'm going to be in town and we're going to have our book tour stop here. And I said, hey, let me give you some unsolicited advice. At least in Chicago, the way that the community, the vibe is in Chicago, we are very much about supporting small businesses, supporting our communities. So to us, it's not a flex to do a book tour stop at a huge Barnes and Noble. To some people it might be, right? Because, oh, wow, look, this BIPOC author is in this big box store. But at least for the Chicago community, I don't know about other cities, it's important for us to invest our dollars within small businesses. So I actually gave that advice to that author of like, hey, if I were you, I would look instead to partnering with an independent bookstore because that's just the vibe here. We appreciate that more, supporting our local community than supporting big corporations. So I hope that tip helps. Again, it might depend on the vibe in your city, but that's very much the vibe in Chicago. And I practiced that through the entire my book tour. I didn't reach out to any Barnes and Nobles or any big Barbara bookstores, I think is the one that's at the airports. I didn't reach out to any of them because I'm like, I want to make sure that any book sales go to independent bookstores that are pouring the money back into our community instead of these big corporations. So this episode was short and sweet and value packed. I hope that you found it helpful. I hope that you got some takeaways that you can use for any product launches that you have in the future. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, share it on IG stories and tag me. My handle is at Gigi, the First Gen Mentor, and I'll show you some love. If you have any requests for future podcast episodes, feel free to shoot me an email at hi@thefirstgenmentor.com. Hasta la próxima and see you next Money Monday.